The Millennium Bridge is one of the first pedestrian bridges to be built across the Thames in over 100 years. It's strung between the Tate Modern in the south and St Paul's in the north. It's quickly become one of the UK's most iconic and notorious bridges. Notorious because of that wobble. Now, it may look busy on here today on a cold winter's day, but in the height of summer when this bridge opened, it was packed. Thousands of people came down to see the bridge open. There were helicopters circling overhead. There were people standing shoulder to shoulder on this bridge. Now, they started shuffling because they couldn't really move forward, and that caused the bridge to move a little bit with them. On a normal bridge, this wouldn't be a problem, but on this bridge, because it's so lightweight, when everybody started to move from side to side themselves to counteract the wobble, it only made the wobble worse. The overall effect was everybody felt rather sick, and rather embarrassingly for the people that designed the bridge had to be shut. I'm here underneath the bridge, and you can hear the footsteps of the people walking overhead, and their footsteps are out of sync. What engineers are really bothered about when they design a bridge is the footsteps that are in sync, because it's those that make a bridge wobble. The Romans knew this when they designed their bridges, and that's why garrisons were asked to break rank so that it didn't cause their bridges to wobble. The designers of 20th century bridges, such as this one, know about all the wobbles, and they've got textbooks full of them, and they check their designs to make sure their bridge isn't going to wobble. But this was a new bridge, and with a new bridge come new wobbles, and nobody had thought to check for those. Underneath the bridge you can see the solution that the engineers used to solve the wobble. They installed a series of tuned mass dampers. These are basically posh shock absorbers. You can see them between the beams and the deck. And what they are is a series of springs with weights on the top. And when the bridge moves to one side, the weight moves the other way and basically counteracts the movement. It makes it much harder for the bridge to get wobbling. There's one of these on each beam going as far as I can see that way, and each one has a carefully tuned spring to take out a specific wobble. When the bridge reopened, the wobble had gone. Now, the vision of the designers was to create a bridge which soared across the Thames like a blade of light. And you can actually see that they've pretty much achieved that. There's hardly any obstructions in the sky and only two legs in the river, which is really important when it comes to avoiding shipping. Now, how they did this was by making a very compact suspension bridge. Usually with a suspension bridge you would expect there to be great big towers that soar up into the sky. Now, on this site, towers would get in the way of the view of St Paul's. So what they did instead was bring the towers right in and push them out like a Y shape and bring the cables in right close to the deck. One of the key things to consider when designing a suspension bridge is how the cables are going to be anchored into the ground. Now, typically what we do is anchor them in an enormous lump of concrete, and that's exactly what's happened up at the St Paul's end of the bridge. But at this end, where behind us we've got the Tate Modern, it would have been rather unsightly to have an enormous lump of concrete sitting in front of this national treasure. So they've come up with a rather cunning solution. This is an enormous arm around which the cables are stretched. The cables come from the bridge up to this end, and then to stop this arm from pinging back up, more cables then go into the ground. It actually requires two different types of foundation very close to each other. Down here we have a compression foundation because this great arm here is being pushed into the ground, so the ground needs to push up against it. And close by, these cables here, which are being pulled out of the ground, have anchors which go deep underground. One of the things I love about this bridge is the way that the engineering is really proudly on show. It's high-tech engineering that makes the most of all of these details. Every bolt, every nook and cranny is on display, and you can really see the forces flowing. For me, the Millennium Bridge is a wonderful piece of design which achieves what the designers set out to do, which was to create a bridge which soars across the river like a blade of light. And despite opening night glitches, it's become a success story with Londoners and tourists alike. It's even become a destination in its own right, which, as far as the bridge is concerned, ain't bad going.